קשה לשמוע את המילים, אבל מוכרחים. אשר אמור כאן לבד, שאומרים לי כל מה שיוני עושה, ואנחנו יודעים שהוא עשה הרבה, ואני נתקעתי לו ואני אמשיך. אז אני אתחיל במילים של הנקרב. כתוב אחרי רבים מאותו, וגם כתוב במקום אחר, לא תיטה אחרי רבים לרעה. How do we know what is right and what is wrong? How do we know when to act and how to act? Kohelet presents us with this dilemma. לכל זמן ועת, לכל חפץ תחת השמש, עת לולדת ועת למות, עת לקחת ועת לעקור נטוע. וממשיך בסוף, עת מלחמה ועת shalom. Kohelet expresses and acknowledges evil, but ultimately gives us the hope that good will prevail and triumph by the deeds that man does with wisdom and foresight, based on true values and not selfishness. The MIAs of Sultan Ya'qub on the 11th of June in 1982, Time magazine had a reporter named Dean Brelis, who wrote about standing in the middle of Damascus with a diplomat and seeing 3 Israeli soldiers being shown there. Way afterwards, after prisoner exchanges, Yona and I obtained a deathbed deposition of this particular reporter that the diplomat was British. I'll get back to this. In 1983, Rav Aaron Soloveitchik met me in Washington to see Senator Percy at the time. And Senator Percy said, "Rabbi, you didn't have to travel that far. You got out of the sick bed. Why did you come? You shouldn't be here. I will help you." And Rav Soloveitchik said, "This is a mitzvah atzeh, which means you have to do. I have to physically do something about the situation. I can't just sit back and rest." When Yona and I finally, after all the prisoner exchanges and all the different things that were happening at the time, went to London to the British Foreign Ministry, they denied knowledge of the event. Later, they arranged a meeting for me with the ambassador in Damascus at the time, who also denied knowing anything about this. At the time that Yona was very, very ill, he asked me to handle things, unlike him. And I secured a list of the British embassy personnel who were in Damascus in 82 and 83. And the British community in Manchester has provided me an attorney. And based on their recently passed Freedom of Information Act, we have sued the government for information on this. And meanwhile, they send us all kinds of little things, but nothing pertaining to this event. I'm going to Next Sunday, I'm on my way to London, and I'm going to be meeting with people there. What is the reason behind all this? The Geneva Conventions say that prisoners of war are the responsibility of the country in which they are last seen. Syria denies knowing anything about this. And also that the signers onto the Geneva Convention are also obligated to make sure that the convention laws are passed and are done according to what is written. But there's a problem. The problem is very simply man and how they do things and what they promise and what they say and what they really do. I call this that type of thing that I receive from this government and other governments, not just lip service, but ear and lip service. They listen to me, they promise me things, they say they'll do, and nothing happens. We're left in the same situation constantly, and therefore we feel that the community now has to speak up. That the time has come where it says that there is for everything, there is a time, for everything there is a season. Now is the time that we have to speak up on this and demand that they do something, not just give us promises. I sat in the office of the Rosh HaMenshala with his Rosh HaLishka, and I told him what I'm asking Prime Minister to do before he goes to Britain, to speak to the Prime Minister of Britain on the matter, Prime Minister Cameron. The Rosh HaLishka, as he was talking to me, picked himself up, he said, "I'll be right back." And he went out, and then he came back, and he said, "The Prime Minister promises he'll raise the subject." You raised the subject? He certainly didn't do that. And Rosh HaLishka said, "I'll get back to you." He got back to me? No, he never got back to me. I never got a report on why he couldn't do it. At least that he should report back and say, "I couldn't do it for such and such a reason." We never got this from him. In the United States, our Jewish friends in the United States helped me at one time. This was in '99. We passed a bill through Congress saying that the United States is to help find and locate an American citizen, Zachary Baumel, and the other two. We pulled them in with this also to determine what happened to them. In 2007, they put an amendment on and included shalit. I had no objection. Their parents cared also about their son. They were entitled, or at least they could have asked me, but they never did, but it didn't bother me. But in 2011, in June, they passed something where they talked about shalit, it was written shalit, and the others, and we became the others. And this was just after I had visited Washington, D.C., gone to the Israeli embassy, and gone to Washington to see some people in May of 2011. And this was passed in June, right after I had been there. There had to be some connection. But that we turned into the others was hurt us to the quick. Now, in Israel, we know that the matter of Sultan Ya'akov was never openly investigated. We talked about it, we asked about it, nobody seems to have any answers about it. I often asked the Mevakar HaMedina directly and indirectly to investigate exactly what happened, at least so that we understand what caused the entire matter and all the fashlat that Zechariah. The tax family was awarded restitution in court. But the case is so deep. After 30 years, it's still so deep. Makes you wonder, why is it still so deep? Whenever people come here from other lands who perhaps could help us, the foreign ministry had said that they would let me know, or let us know, whoever is concerned, about their being here and arrange meetings. Never done. This causes me to have to travel and see the people abroad, because even though they came here and they're not how many miles away from my home, and I could meet with them, nobody has allowed me to see them. And this is what they call cooperation. And this is saying to me every time I ask, we're doing everything we can. And in Hebrew, it doesn't sound any better. Osim kol ma she'efshar. Churchill said once that when he goes abroad, he never criticizes his government. When he comes home to Britain, he makes up for lost time. When I go abroad, I certainly can't criticize Israel. All these things I say to you here, I'm doing it the way Churchill did it. I'm doing this at home. Because when I complain and when I say all these things to anybody in the government or even in the army, forgive me, it's like a stone falls in the desert. That's the reaction I feel that I get, because I don't feel any activity or any sense of urgency. You spoke, Rabbi, about time. I asked the question, how long is a day in incarceration? How long is a day in prison? Is it 24 hours or is it like a year? We don't know. It must be terrible. And this is what I think about in the evenings. It's not easy. But we have to face the future with hope. And we have to see what we can do to help them. If they are not alive, at least we know they're not suffering. But we must continue, because people have been held by Syria in the past for many, many, many years. And we have to act on this. When I was at the Jerusalem Post Conference, Alan Dershowitz spoke about the Israelis who come to America and criticize their government. And he said, that's a no-no. So I always had the problem when I'm in America, I can't criticize Israel, and when I'm in Israel, I can't criticize America. Where do I stand? I'm becoming paranoid, schizophrenic, I don't know what it is. But I feel that what we need to do is say it the way it is and act on it in a fashion that behooves us, that is true to our traditions. And our traditions say we can write letters, we can make phone calls, we can send email, we can do everything through the government. And even if they're lucky enough, we can block their email. All these things can be done. And this is a civilized way. Because if we know that history repeats itself, we don't want this to happen again. If we do certain things, the repetition of the history of this particular battle can happen again, and we must find some way of correcting our mistakes. I sat in Vancouver with a lady next to me who was a Holocaust survivor. And I told her a few of my complaints, not open with them. And she said she remembers that in the Holocaust too, the leaders, the Jewish leaders, didn't do anything or did the opposite of what they asked them. And she said they were very quick when the Holocaust was over to take the credit. When Shalit came home, you saw all the politicians standing there to receive him. How much they did to actually help bring him home, I question. And so